You know how sometimes you're reading an ancient text and a line just stops you in your tracks? It's so strange, maybe a little intense, and you just know there has to be a deeper story going on? Well, today, that's exactly what we're doing. We are going to unravel one of the most mysterious and powerful verses in the entire Bible.
So here it is. Get this. The spirit that dwells in us desires to the point of jealousy. Whoa. I mean, that sounds intense. The word jealousy is so loaded, right? It's got all this negative baggage. So what could this possibly mean? Is the spirit like possessive, envious? It just raises a ton of questions right off the bat.
And that is the mystery we're going to solve together. Think of it like a detective story, digging into theology and language to decode this really profound idea. And to do that, we have to break it down into its two key parts. So first up, what does it even mean to desire in this context?
To solve this mystery, we can't just use our modern everyday definition of the word desire. No, we have to go back. We have to see how the original authors used it, because in their world, it meant something much, much deeper.
See, the biblical concept of desire isn't just about wanting something you don't have. It's more like a fundamental attraction, a kind of spiritual gravity, really, that pulls something towards what it belongs to, towards its origin or its other half.
Here's a really simple way to think about the difference. You know, we might say, I desire a coffee. That's just a simple want for something external. But the biblical meaning, it's totally different. It's an internal pull towards something you're fundamentally connected to. It's a drive for unity. It's kind of like a magnet being pulled towards its other pole.
The absolute perfect example of this is in the book of Genesis. The text says, the woman's desire will be for her husband. Now, the logic here isn't about romance. It's about origin. Because she was formed from him, there's this natural gravitational pull back toward her source. It's a desire that's literally based on belonging. So with that idea in mind, let's look at the second piece of our puzzle.
Okay, this next concept, this is the real key that unlocks the whole thing. It's the idea of a portion. See, what you are drawn to depends entirely on what you see as your rightful share, is your part.
The Hebrew word for this is helik, and it means an inheritance, a destined share, or a piece of property. Basically, it's the part of reality that a person or even a spiritual force recognizes as fundamentally and rightfully theirs. It's their kindred part. Now, to understand how this can be more than just, physical property, let's look at the ancient Levites, the priestly tribe of Israel. In a society where everything was about land inheritance, they were told they would get no territory. So, what was their portion?
The Lord is their portion. How incredible is that? Their inheritance wasn't land. It was God Himself. Their share of reality, the very source of their identity, was spiritual. This shows us really clearly that a portion can be a spiritual reality, not just a physical one.
So here's the crucial point. A portion is what a person or a spiritual force is attuned to. It's the frequency they're listening for, the part of the world that resonates with their own nature. It's what they look at and say, that's mine.
Okay, so we've got our two key ideas. Desire as this gravitational pull, and portion as a kindred part. Now let's see what happens when we put them together. Because this is the moment where that mysterious verse suddenly just snaps into perfect focus.
The logic basically works like this. Step 1, you have a spiritual force, could be the Spirit of God, could be an impulse like sin. Step 2, that force scans the world looking for its portion, looking for something in a person that is like its own essence. And step 3, when it finds that portion, it desires it. It's powerfully and naturally drawn to it. And this whole dynamic, it plays out over and over again in the biblical story. Let's just look at a few key examples here to see how these different forces are drawn to their own specific portions.
Okay, this is so cool because it just ties everything together. Look at this pattern. God's Spirit desires a humble person. Why? Because humility is a kindred nature to God. Sin desires Cain because it finds a compatible element, that anger, that resentment, to latch onto. Satan looks at Jesus and finds nothing. No resonant darkness, no portion of himself there at all. And Christ comes for his own, the people who are his inheritance. You see, it's always about attraction to a similar nature.
And just like that, our original quote makes perfect sense. The spirit that dwells in us desires to the point of jealousy. This isn't some petty human emotion. It is the deep, powerful, gravitational longing of God for His portion inside of us. It's the Spirit's intense pull toward whatever is kindred to God's own nature within a human heart. And the very next verse confirms this whole logic. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Well, why? Because grace, just like the Spirit, flows toward its kindred portion. Pride is foreign to God's nature, so he resists it. But humility? That's compatible, so grace is naturally drawn to it, just like the Spirit desires it.
So, we've kind of solved the mystery of the verse. But, this isn't just about an ancient riddle. This dynamic explains something absolutely fundamental about our own inner lives right here, right now.
So here's the big takeaway. The human heart is not neutral territory. Think of it more like an arena, a space where different spiritual forces are constantly searching for something that resonates with them, looking for a foothold, looking for their portion. What we choose to cultivate in our hearts actually determines what spiritual forces will be drawn to us.
And that leaves us with a final and pretty penetrating question. If these different forces are drawn to what is like them, if grace is drawn to humility and darkness is drawn to anger, then we have to ask ourselves as we go about our day, whose portion is in you? What are you cultivating that is attracting the spiritual forces all around you? That's a thought to carry with you long after this is over.